This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, June 10th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
An Israeli raid rescues 4 hostages from Hamas captivity.
Our soldiers are performing in the most valiant and moral way.
I'm John Stolnis.
A solemn stop for President Biden at a military cemetery in France.
Sense of reverence for what they did.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
The impacts of President Biden's border order just days after it went into effect.
There's no slowing down of people crossing the border.
I'm Clayton Neville.
Details of an annual report on the finances of members of the Supreme Court are out. I'm Shelley Adler.
On Wall Street, stocks are coming off a winning week. NVIDIA shares are more affordable this morning. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
World War II veteran Harold Terrence and his sweetheart, Jean Swerlin, proved that love is eternal. I'm Rika Ann Garcia.
All ahead on America in the Morning. The Israeli military conducts a raid in central Gaza, resulting in the recovery of 4 hostages being held by Hamas since the October 7th attack. The latest from John Stolnis.
All his friends came, and it was a big party for him. All he wants is a cigarette and friends.
Avira Meir, the uncle of one of the rescued hostages, Almog Meir, praising the work of the Israeli Defense Forces and grateful for the bond his nephew now shares with 2 other hostages he was with, who were also freed.
Shlomi and Andrei, and they are a wonderful team. They got in touch together, and they supported each other, and they are very good friends now.
The raid in Nuseirat featured heavy bombing by Israeli forces that the Gaza Health Ministry says killed at least 274 Palestinians. However, numbers by the Health Ministry have been disputed as unreliable by Israel, the U.S., and other allies. On CNN's State of the Union, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan admits there was a civilian cost, but puts the blame for that on Hamas.
Innocent people were tragically killed in this operation. The exact number we don't know, but innocent people were killed, and that is heartbreaking. That is tragic. The president himself has said in recent days that the Palestinian people are going through sheer hell in this conflict because Hamas is operating in a way that puts them in the crossfire, that holds hostages right in the heart of crowded civilian areas.
Speaking in France, President Biden praised the Israeli military operation that resulted in the recovery of the hostages.
We won't stop working until all the hostages come home and a ceasefire is reached. That is essential to happen.
Sullivan said the U.S. did help with the operation to a point.
Well, the one thing I can say is that there were no U.S. forces, no U.S. boots on the ground involved in this operation. We did not participate militarily in this operation.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu maintained Israel will continue fighting until all hostages are recovered.
Our soldiers are performing in the most valiant and moral way to end this war with a victory against these killers and against these kidnappers, and we shall prevail.
However, the hostage recovery comes as centrist Israeli lawmaker Benny Gantz resigns from Israel's 3-man war cabinet, claiming Netanyahu has mismanaged the war. Analysts say the move will damage the credibility of the war cabinet internationally and say Netanyahu will now be more reliant on his far-right allies who want the war to continue. I'm John Stolnis.
President Biden wrapped up his trip to France in events marking the 80th anniversary of D-Day with a visit to an American military cemetery outside Paris. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
President Biden laid a wreath at the chapel at the Ain Marne American Cemetery, recalling a fierce battle that claimed Allied lives.
Every Marine I know knows about the battle in Bella Woods. There are over 229 buried here. Inside that chapel, there's names of 1,000 missing. They never recovered the bodies.
He says he can't imagine not paying homage.
Think about it. You had this, they were on their way to Paris, Germans. They stopped them here. They stopped them here, just like Americans on Normandy Beach stopped, turned the war around, and gives you both a sense of pride and, in my case, and my guess is you as well, a sense of reverence for what they did.
and says the alliance between the U.S. and Europe helped stop German aggression then and during World War II.
That's why it's so important that we continue to have the alliances we have.
Former President Donald Trump had skipped a visit to Ain Marne in 2018 when he was in France. A reporter asked Biden about that.
America showed up. America showed up to stop the Germans. America showed up to make sure that they did not prevail. And America shows up when we need it, just like our allies show for us.
You've criticized President Trump for not coming here on his trip. What message are you hoping to send to voters by being here right now?
Any other questions?
Trump has campaigned the U.S. needs to devote more attention to its problems and less on foreign alliances. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Gifts to Supreme Court justices? New revelations when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy is checking on where we might see severe weather today.
As we start off a new work week, we are looking at several strong to severe thunderstorms across the United States. The Central Plains once again was hit with intense storms from Colorado to Nebraska into Kansas Friday into Saturday. After a break from severe weather on Sunday, the risk for more strong to severe thunderstorms will develop again. The first area will be across the north with a storm moving out of the northern Rockies with thunderstorms developing along it this afternoon. These storms will produce damaging winds, large hail, and even a tornado from northern Colorado into eastern Wyoming, western Nebraska, and then northward to the western portions of North and South Dakota. This system can also produce a few more showers and thunderstorms through Montana southward to Wyoming. Another front across the southern plains into the southeast will have a couple of areas where some risk for severe thunderstorms will develop. One area will be in West Texas and eastern New Mexico. These could contain drenching rain, damaging winds, and large hail. And the other area will be in South Carolina, southward through southern Georgia into Florida. There will be some flash flooding and gusty winds with those storms. In southern Florida, we'll look for drenching storms to also form today into tonight as tropical moisture moves northward along a disturbance in the Gulf. Meanwhile, much of the rest of the plain states will be dry, and that will carry eastward through the central Great Lakes into the middle Atlantic. In the northeast, there will be a few more clouds with a couple of showers developing mainly in the afternoon, and it will be much cooler. That's the weather across America. Las Vegas, Nevada will be quite hot today with plenty of sunshine and a high of 104. Syracuse, New York will have clouds breaking for sunshine with a few showers and a much cooler afternoon with a high of 61. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
I'm John Trout. Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. It's been days since President Biden implemented an executive order at the southern border meant to slow down a surge of migration. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports there are immediate implications.
Under President Biden's border order, asylum is suspended when arrests for illegal border crossings reach 2,500 a day. Now it ends when they average below 1,500 for a week straight. Thousands of migrants reportedly have already been deported under the ban, but because of that, there's an apparent holdup in other deportations. The Department of Homeland Security says that its hands are tied to some extent by things like government resources and other countries accepting people who are deported. It's a process, and with a high number of deportations, there's a slowdown in that process. As far as direct impacts on slowing illegal immigration, though, Texas Governor Greg Abbott says there hasn't been any since the order went into effect.
There's no slowing down of people crossing the border. In fact, it's just accelerating. And so this is gaslighting. In fact, it is making the border illegal crossings worse.
Governor Abbott spoke with Fox News Sunday.
There's nothing that Biden is doing that actually is preventing anybody else from crossing the border. There's no type of enforcement mechanism in place.
President Biden says his administration is doing what Congress won't, but Republicans point to timing and accuse Biden of waiting until months ahead of the November election to address the southern border. I'm Clayton Neville.
Members of the Supreme Court have issued financial disclosures, some receiving more gifts than others. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson is a Beyoncé fan and disclosed she received 4 tickets to a Queen Bee concert valued at $3,700 from the singer herself. Jackson also collected nearly $900,000 last year for her upcoming book. Justice Clarence Thomas belatedly reported travel paid by others from 2019, a hotel room in Bali for a single night, and food and lodging in Sonoma County. No information yet from Samuel Alito, who received an extension for up to 90 days, as he does most years. I'm Shelley Adler.
When we return on America in the Morning, trusting job numbers news reports after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. The Business Report is sponsored by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with the Monday Report.
Wall Street opens this morning after a blowout strong jobs report for May. The S&P 500 index hit an intraday record high on Friday. The U.S. added a much stronger than expected 272,000 new jobs last month. The unemployment rate still near a 50-year low at 4%.
This is a strong report. It's on top of many strong reports that we've seen. Payroll growth obviously came in a bit higher than people expected. The unemployment rate ticked up slightly to 4%. The unemployment rate has still been at or below 4.0% for 30 months in a row. So it's still quite a strong report here.
The Economic Policy Institute's Elise Gould on CNBC. Where was the most hiring last month? Healthcare, government like teachers and police officers and more, leisure and hospitality, including restaurants and theme parks, professional and business services, and construction. NVIDIA shares are cheaper. When the market opens this morning, the 10-for-1 stock split has happened. It's the 6th time the company has done this to make shares more affordable for average investors and for employees. Shares closed at more than $1,200 a piece on Friday. This morning, they'll be around $120 each. Some investors say you should buckle up for a rocky ride this week. The Consumer Price Index for May will be out Wednesday morning. That's the latest on inflation.
Now we're staring in the face CPI. If CPI comes in sticky, this starts to bring into that view of, okay, the economy's hot, inflation is sticky, rate cuts are getting more and more pushed out. How does this end? I think that's going to cause the confusion for the markets. Expect more volatility.
Nuvine's Sarah Malik on CNBC. We also get an interest rate decision from the Fed on Wednesday. Nothing's really expected to change, but Fed Chair Jay Powell will speak about the economy. Investors will be listening for hints on what might happen with interest rates that could move the market.
Can you clarify the news stories out there about young people not being able to find work?
Yeah, there's a lot of junky news sources out there. You have to consider where the spin is coming from. Negative headlines or suspect news reports about young people having trouble finding jobs this summer. You just shouldn't believe the hype or the clickbait.
We've been seeing lots of doom and gloom headlines about how entry-level hiring is plummeting, how there are 75% fewer entry-level jobs for new grads. That doesn't really appear to be the case.
ZipRecruiter's Julia Pollack on CNBC.
Actually, youth employment has either been the highest or the second highest each month this year since the Great Recession.
High schoolers or college students or grads hanging around the house saying they can't find anything, you should double check that. On today's watch list, NVIDIA shares opened today with a new lower price after that 10-for-1 stock split. There are no earnings reports today. Earnings season's really winding down. Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference begins today in Cupertino.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, nuptials for veteran at D-Day celebration after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. Former President Donald Trump will appear in a virtual interview with his attorney at his side today with a New York probation officer. The pre-sentencing interview will be done after he was convicted last month of 34 felonies in his historic New York hush money case. The Trump defense team must submit their sentencing recommendations by Thursday, as Trump will be sentenced in New York on July 11th, just days before the start of the Republican National Convention. The former president is expected to face a sentence of either probation or up to 4 years behind bars. It was a long time coming for a World War II veteran of D-Day who finally tied the knot with his bride near the beach in Normandy, where he came ashore in 1944. Correspondent Rika Ann Garcia reports.
World War II veteran Harold Terrence and his sweetheart, Jean Swerlin, proved that love is eternal as they tied the knot near the D-Day beaches in Normandy, France. Their respective ages, he's 100 and she's a youngster of just 96. The location was the town hall of Carentan, a significant D-Day target that saw fierce fighting in 1944. That was a resounding yes from the bride after their vows were read by Carentan's mayor. The couple exchanged rings, and with champagne flutes in hand, they waved to the adoring crowds outside. And they're expected to get a very special wedding night party. The mayor said they've been invited to the state dinner at the Élysée Palace with President Emmanuel Macron and U.S. President Joe Biden. I'm Rika Ann Garcia.
America in the Morning for Monday, June 10th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Here's what's coming up this half hour.
Israelis rejoice as 4 hostages are reunited with families after being freed by an Israeli military raid. I'm Karen Shamas.
Former President Donald Trump holds his first campaign rally since being convicted on felony charges. I'm Clayton Neville.
A mass shooting in Wisconsin. I'm Pamela Burr.
An American soldier faces trial in Russia, and a wild chase ends with a triple murder suspect in custody.
Kia America is recalling nearly 463,000 Telluride SUVs. I'm Norman Hall.
Bad Boys Ride or Die tops the box office in its debut weekend. I'm Archie Zaraletta with the latest.
Who were the big winners at the Daytime Emmys this weekend? I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Rain showers in store for some today. With that, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
In the northeast, there will be low pressure holding steady just to the north of the area, and from that, there will be plenty of clouds and a couple of showers developing, mainly in the afternoon as much cooler air moves into the region. Highs this afternoon will be mostly in the 60s with a few higher elevations in the 50s and even 40s. This is as much as 15 degrees below the historical average, and that cooler weather will extend westward into Michigan and Ohio, where it will remain largely dry. In the western states, it'll be largely dry today with plenty of sunshine and afternoon temperatures away from the coast running above historical average with highs in the 80s in the far north and warming quickly to the 90s and 100s farther south. Heading into the Plains states, a couple of rounds of storms hit the plains on Friday and Saturday, and after a break on Sunday, the risk for more strong to severe thunderstorms will develop again today. The first area will be across the north, with a storm moving out of the northern Rockies. We'll have thunderstorms developing along it this afternoon, and these storms can produce damaging winds, large hail, and even a tornado. That will run from northern Colorado into eastern Wyoming and western Nebraska, as well as the western portions of North and South Dakota. And this system could also produce a few showers through the rest of Montana into Wyoming. Another front across the southern plains into the southeast will have a couple of areas where there could be some severe thunderstorms. One area in West Texas and eastern New Mexico will contain drenching rain, damaging winds, and large hail. The other area in South Carolina, southward to southern Georgia into northern Florida, will have flash flooding and gusty winds. In southern Florida, we'll have drenching storms also forming today into tonight as tropical moisture moves northward along a disturbance in the Gulf. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
I'm John Trout. Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The Israeli military pulls off a daring raid against Hamas terrorists in the Gaza Strip, rescuing 4 hostages. Israel's government alleged that 3 of the hostages were kept by a journalist who works for Al Jazeera, allegedly paid by Hamas to keep the captives with his family. Correspondent Karen Shamas has details on the raid, as well as a key member of the Israeli war cabinet submitting his resignation, as White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, speaking on ABC News this week with George Stephanopoulos, backed the Israeli raid, but tempered his remarks regarding any civilians that may have been harmed in the operation.
We will continue to work with Israel to do that. We will also continue to reinforce the point that all of their military operations, including hostage rescue operations, should take every precaution to minimize the amount of civilian harm or civilian casualties. That is a point we will reinforce in all of our engagements with the Israelis going forward.
In a hospital in Ramat Gan in Israel, rescued hostage Andrei Kozlov laughed with joy as he hugged another rescued hostage, Almog Meir Jan. Having been freed by a daytime operation in the heart of Nuseirat in central Gaza, they were taken by helicopter for medical checks and reunions with loved ones after 246 days in captivity.
The forces came under extensive attack in an attempt to kill both them and the hostages.
Over 270 Palestinians were killed in the operation, according to Gaza's health ministry. Israelis celebrated the return of the 4 hostages, which included Noah Argamani and Shlomi Ziv, after Israeli forces raided 2 locations simultaneously. Argamani was one of the most widely recognized hostages after her capture from a music festival was shared on social media. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hailed the operation as a success, calling the soldiers who rescued them warriors.
For all the commanders, all the soldiers, all the decision makers who decided to do this operation and to bring 4 hostages, we have to remember that we have another 120 hostages more that we have to bring back home.
Benny Gantz, a centrist member of Israel's 3-man war cabinet, has announced his resignation. Gantz had previously said he would leave the government by June the 8th if Netanyahu did not formulate a new plan for post-war Gaza. The popular former military chief joined Netanyahu's government shortly after October the 7th in a show of unity. His presence also boosted Israel's credibility with its international partners. Gantz has good working relations with US officials. I'm Karen Shamas.
While President Joe Biden spent the weekend in France attending the 80th anniversary of D-Day events, former President Donald Trump was on the campaign trail. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
During a campaign rally in Las Vegas, the former president blasted the Biden administration for its work over the last 4 years.
We're going to make our country greater than ever before. It's going to be special, and the world is going to look up to us with respect. They're not going to be laughing at us. They right now are laughing at us.
It was Trump's first campaign rally since he was convicted on felony charges in his New York City hush money trial. He focused heavily during the rally on unproven claims of fraud in the 2020 election and on President Biden's recent executive order at the southern border limiting the number of asylum seekers there.
This open border situation where you're allowing millions and millions of people to flood our country, we can't handle it. No country could handle it. It's not sustainable.
The former president spent the weekend in western states holding fundraisers in California and in Nevada and a town hall in Arizona. This speculation builds over his potential vice presidential pick. Some of the frontrunners were on the Sunday talk shows yesterday voicing support for Trump, to include North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, who spoke with Fox News.
I think that when people see him, they see the depth of his care about the country, and he's right on all the issues that matter. And that's why you've got record fundraising happening. That's why you have record turnout. That's why you have people lining the streets.
Senator Tim Scott also spoke with Fox.
We need to make sure we have Donald Trump for 4 more years. We need him back on the world stage.
And South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem pushing the potential bump that Trump could get with a woman at his side. She spoke with CNN.
All the polls tell him in these swing states that a woman on the ticket helps him win. The polls just say that. People, 1 in 4 Republican women haven't made up their minds because they want to have a woman talking to them about the issues they care about. And women aren't monolithic. They don't care about just one issue. They care about health care. They care about their children. They care about their futures. They care about having an opportunity to have a business and to have a career. And all of that is being threatened under Joe Biden. But yes, the women vote is extremely important.
No clear indication when Trump will make his pick for VP. I'm Clayton Neville.
3 people hurt in a series of shark attacks on Florida's Gulf Coast. Details from correspondent Julie Walker.
Following shark attacks in Florida's Panhandle, officials keeping an eye on 26 miles of beach where purple flags fly, warning of possible sharks. The Walton County Sheriff says a woman lost part of her arm in a shark attack Friday. Less than 2 hours later, about 4 miles down the beach, 2 teenage girls were attacked. Officials say one ended up in the trauma unit.
I can assure you that the lifeguards and all of the beach safety personnel, as well as the Walton County Sheriff's Office deputies, worked as quickly as they could, given the nature of still responding to that first incident, to work their way down the beach and alert people as to what had happened.
Mackenzie McClintock is with South Walton Fire District.
Of course, there's shark sightings. Those happen almost every day because it's open water. So throughout the summer, that's something that we're consistently tracking. However, we have not received any information related to any further shark incidents that required any sort of medical care.
Also Friday in Hawaii, officials say a woman was seriously injured in a shark attack in the waters off Oahu. Experts say shark attacks are rare. There were 69 worldwide last year, 10 fatal. I'm Julie Walker.
When we return on America in the Morning, U.S. soldier arrested in Russia. That and more after these messages. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. At least 10 people hurt over the weekend in a mass shooting near the campus of the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Correspondent Pamela Furr has more.
It is truly a miracle that no one is dead.
That's Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes. The victims, whose ages range from 14 to 23, were wounded during a rooftop party at a high-rise apartment building.
They found some people in various stages of distress, and some were even hiding in a maintenance closet in an attempt to find safety.
Some victims were taken to local hospitals, but none of the injuries are considered life-threatening.
These students should have been celebrating summer vacation and not receiving medical treatment.
Barnes says the shooting does appear to be a targeted incident, but police have not made any arrests or have released any description of the shooter. He says about 10 shell casings were recovered, indicating 2 weapons were used. So police may be looking for more than one person involved. Right now, detectives are still talking with victims and witnesses and looking over digital evidence. I'm Pamela Furr.
An American soldier who was arrested when he went to Russia to visit his girlfriend will soon be on trial. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
34-year-old Staff Sergeant Gordon Black faces up to 5 years in prison if he's convicted of stealing. Black traveled to the Russian port city of Vladivostok to visit his girlfriend, and he was arrested after she accused Black of stealing from her. Black's arrest further complicates U.S. relations with Russia, which is holding a number of Americans in its jails. The U.S. Army said last month that Black had not asked for clearance for international travel and was not given permission by the Defense Department. Black was on leave and in the process of returning to his home base in Texas from South Korea, where he had been stationed at Camp Humphreys. U.S. officials say Black first met his girlfriend in South Korea, but that he also is married. I'm Donna Warder.
More details emerge after a woman suspected to be involved in a triple murder in Virginia led police on a high-speed chase before being apprehended. Bob Brown has the story.
Upstate New York police troopers being led on a high-speed chase on Friday by an alleged triple murder suspect out of Virginia with speeds reaching 100 miles per hour before the suspect crashed her car after running over a tire deflator device. Police arresting 23-year-old Alyssa Jane Venable, who was wanted for allegedly killing 3 elderly people in Fredericksburg, Virginia. The victims reportedly are the suspect's roommates. They're identified as 77-year-old Robert John McGuire, 60-year-old Gregory Scott Powell, and 65-year-old Carol Ann Reese. The bodies were discovered on Tuesday. Authorities in Virginia say the victims' deaths resulted from upper body trauma. Authorities in New York say Venable suffered non-life-threatening injuries in the crash in Steuben County near Corning.
They're able to take a very dangerous person into custody with no injury to any police officers.
Venable is facing 3 counts of second-degree murder and a firearms charge in Virginia. I'm Bob Brown.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul is expected to sign new proposed legislation cracking down on how kids get access to social media and the ads they're exposed to. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech News.
Lawmakers in New York on Friday passed legislation to bar social media platforms from exposing addictive algorithmic content to users under the age of 18 without parental consent. Another bill to restrict online sites from collecting and selling personal data also gained final legislative approval. Governor Kathy Hochul hailed the two measures as a historic step forward in efforts to address the youth mental health crisis and create safer digital environments for young people. A social media industry association called NetChoice condemned the legislation, saying in a statement that it is an assault on free speech and the open internet by forcing websites to censor all content. The suit named Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Google's YouTube among the platforms that would likely be subject to the measure. Users under 13 must have informed consent from a parent to be able to view on those platforms. Utah, Arkansas, Louisiana, Ohio, Texas, and Florida already have similar measures on their docket. Leave a comment at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
Robert Workman Sports is sponsored by Untuckit. Get your Father's Day gifts at our 80-plus stores or untuckit.com. Untuckit shirts designed to be worn untucked. Robert?
The Boston Celtics take a 2-0 series lead in the NBA Finals, beating the Mavericks 105-98 in Boston last night. It was Drew Holiday's turn to shine for the C's, scoring 26 points.
JT was getting into the paint and being double-teamed and making the right plays out of it and just finding me.
The scene shifts to Dallas for Game 3 on Wednesday. Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals tonight in Florida. The Panthers drilled the Oilers in Game 1 on Saturday. Baseball, the Yankees eluded the Dodgers 6-4 last night. Aaron Judge hit his league-leading 24th homer.
It's a game of averages, so it's going to go up. It's going to go down. You can't sit there and look at it, because if I sit there and look at what it was in April, then I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Mets scored 3 in the ninth and then held on to beat the Phillies 6-5 for a split in the London series. Tigers trounced the Brewers 10-2. Tarek Skubal now 8-1. Logan O'Hoppy's fourth hit of the day was a 2-run tater in the bottom of the ninth to lift the Angels over the Astros. Orioles routed the Rays. Grayson Rodriguez took a perfecto into the sixth. Adley Rutschman hit a grand slam and drove in 6 runs. Diamondbacks scored 6 in the second and pounded the Padres. Nationals put up 7 in the fourth as they bounced the Braves. Twins got 7 in the 10th to sink the Pirates. Blue Jays got by the A's in 10 innings. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa drove in 5 runs, 3 with a bases-loaded double in extras. Red Sox rallied past the White Sox in 10 innings. Mariners edged the Royals in 10. Cardinals, Cubs, Guardians, and Rangers win. French Open, 21-year-old Carlos Alcaraz defeated Alexander Zverev in 5 sets to become the youngest player to win majors on all 3 surfaces. He won Wimbledon last year and the U.S. Open the year before. World number 1 Iga Swiatek won her 4th French Open crown on Saturday, and Scottie Scheffler took his 5th tournament title this year, winning the Memorial to give him momentum into this week's U.S. Open at Pinehurst, North Carolina. That's Monday Sports.
Coming up, nationwide auto recall for Kia vehicles and some bad boys at the theater when America in the Morning returns after these messages. This is America in the Morning. If you own one of the nearly 500,000 Kia SUVs recalled, your car could catch fire whether it's parked or being driven. Correspondent Norman Hall explains.
Kia America is recalling nearly 463,000 Telluride SUVs and urging owners to park their cars outside and away from other structures until an issue posing a fire hazard is fixed. The front power seat motor on the affected Tellurides from the 2020 to 2024 model years may overheat because of a stuck slide knob. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the defect could potentially result in a fire while the car is parked or being driven. Kia is said to have received reports of 1 underseat fire and 6 incidents of localized melting in the seat tilt motor. I'm Norman Hall.
The bad boys are back, and they led the way at the weekend box office. Entertainment correspondent Margie Zaraletta reports.
It's just us, no backup.
The latest in the Bad Boys movie, starring Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, opened with $56 million domestically, according to studio estimates. It's finally a hit movie for Hollywood when ticket sales have been down for the past several weeks. Plus, it was Smith's biggest movie success since he was banned from the Oscars for 10 years for slapping Chris Rock in 2022.
Oh, I apologize in advance. The eating you're about to see will not be pretty. And if you have young children, this would be a good time for them to leave the room.
Last week's top draw, the Garfield movie, drops to second place.
What if I told you
imaginary friends are real. And when their kids grow up, they're forgotten.
Are any of them scary?
Worse. Desperate.
If is number 3, followed by The Watchers and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
The Emmys for daytime television were awarded. Kevin Carr has the wrap-up.
The winners of the Daytime Emmys were announced this weekend in Los Angeles.
And the Emmy goes to General Hospital!
The big winner was the 61-year-old soap opera General Hospital, which took away 4 Emmys out of 11 nominations. This included Best Directing Team, Best Writing Team, Best Supporting Actor Robert Gossett, and Best Daytime Drama Series.
Dick Van Dyke as Mystery Man Timothy Robichaud.
A notable record was set when 98-year-old Dick Van Dyke won Best Guest Performance in a Daytime Drama Series in Days of Our Lives. Van Dyke is the oldest person to be nominated for a Daytime Emmy, let alone win one.
Thank you so much. This really tops off a lifetime of 80 years in the business.
Other big soap opera victories included The Bold and the Beautiful's Torsten Kay winning his 2nd consecutive Emmy for lead performance in a Daytime Drama Series actor.
You need a whole village of people that have agreed that they're not going to let you drown, not tonight. I have all of that, so thank you.
Michelle Stafford won lead performance in a Daytime Drama Series actress for The Young and the Restless. This was her 3rd win in the category.
I am honored to entertain people. I'm honored to be here amongst you all tonight, truly.
Kelly Clarkson took home the Emmy for Best Daytime Talk Series. Entertainment Tonight won Best Entertainment Series, and Mark Consuelos and Kelly Ripa won Best Daytime Talk Series hosts. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Monday, June 10th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.